Hello everyone. Thanks so much for joining our webinar today. This one's about how to lift your year-end donations with Give Securities. My name is Jen Newcomb Trinidad and I'm with the marketing team at CanadaHelps. I'm joined today by my colleague Lucas Froese and longtime friend to CanadaHelps, Paul Nazareth. And today's webinar will cover everything you need to know about donations of securities, which includes why both you and your donors benefit from gifts of securities, a step-by-step process for receiving securities as donations, donor prospecting and messaging tactics that take the current pandemic into account, how easy it is to start accepting donations of securities using a CanadaHelps online custom donation form, and finally, how CanadaHelps takes care of processing donations of securities for you. But before we jump into the presentation, we would like to express and acknowledge that our team at CanadaHelps is grateful to have the opportunity to meet and work on many Indigenous homelands across this land we share, Canada. As settlers on these lands, it is important to acknowledge that our Vancouver offices are located on the unceded territory of the Coast Salish peoples. The Montreal offices are located on Kanien'kehá:ka or Mohawk territory, and the land on which we operate and are broadcasting from today in Toronto is the traditional territory of the Wendat, the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. So we want to express our respect for the territories we reside in and honor the diverse Indigenous peoples who have lived and worked on this land historically and presently. And we, the staff and leadership of CanadaHelps, are committed to being active participants in reconciliation. We are committed to continuing to amplify Indigenous voices and learning how our work affects Indigenous peoples. Now, for those of you who are new to CanadaHelps, welcome. We build online fundraising tools to empower and help charities become more self-sustainable. And for charities, we offer open access to a full suite of affordable online giving tools with full donor information. We also provide educational resources like this webinar so charities can better understand their donors and steward them along their journey. And for donors, we have offered a convenient, safe, and trusted destination for donating to and fundraising for all registered Canadian charities for 20 years. Now, more than 2.5 million Canadians have donated over $1 billion to CanadaHelps, and to date, over 22,000 charities across Canada rely on CanadaHelps fundraising tools to build capacity. Now, I'm happy to introduce you to our presenters who will be showing their beautiful faces shortly. This is Paul Nazareth. He's a leader in Canada's philanthropic sector with over 20 years experience. He has been a philanthropic advisor with a national wealth management firm and has spent over a decade with charities like the University of Toronto and the Catholic Church of Greater Toronto. And we also have my colleague Lucas Froese, who has empowered over 1,000 charities in Canada to create sustainable online fundraising strategies since joining CanadaHelps in 2018. And he's been at the forefront of new digital giving developments. He helps organizations build successful online giving programs. And without further ado, I'll hand it over to Paul to get us started. Take it away, Paul.
All right. You can see that okay, Jen? The screen?
Yeah, see it perfectly.
Great. So, today we're talking about the benefits of securities for your charity, for your donors. A lot of it's about practically receiving not just greater funds, but helping your donors and making it easy for them to be giving you the donations they want to be giving you, but also to afford the ability to give more. Bottom line, why Give Securities? And this is what we do at the Canadian Association of Gift Planners, is help Canadians and their advisors understand the benefits of different types of giving. Sure, cash is easy and online is easy, but in Canada, when you give stocks, you eliminate the taxes on the gain of those stocks. Bottom line, if you bought stocks 10 years ago at $10 and you sell them today 10 years later at $100, you owe tax on the difference. But when you donate that fund to a charity whole, the tax is eliminated. What that really means in a lot of cases is there are donors who have been cashing out stocks to give you the cash, but you are losing the taxes. If they give it through this CanadaHelps Securities platform, you'll have the benefit of getting all the funds. Again, take a look at this, and this is on the website as well, on the CanadaHelps website, the difference between selling the shares and donating the cash and donating through the securities platform. As you can see, it's a significant amount more money to your charity. And the donor didn't change how much they gave, they just changed how they gave it. It's a really important piece on the mechanics for both you and your donor to understand. Now, important when we say securities, what do we mean? Primarily, we mean publicly listed securities on public stock exchanges, but we also mean bonds and mutual funds. And this is really important because when it comes to donating stocks and securities, publicly listed securities are faster than mutual funds. So it's important to know. If you get asked by your donors, and of course very often charities wonder, can you receive securities from other countries? Yes. But as usual, to create a Canadian tax receipt, those donors will always receive those funds converted into Canadian dollars. Now, this program has grown, and I've been very proud. Even before I worked at CanadaHelps a few years ago, I've been on the board of small charities that use the program, and that's the work that we've been doing at CAGP for over 25 years, is promoting gifts of assets. And the CanadaHelps Securities program has now grown to the largest donation of securities program in Canada, and frankly also the most digitally enabled. If you can believe it, a ton of charities, large and small, and actually quite large, are still using fax machines. This is a completely online system in which the donor is filling out the online form, and CanadaHelps does the rest for you, the charity. It receives the stocks, it cashes the stocks, it sends the receipt to the donor, and it deposits the cash in your charity account. And as always, you know the identity of the donor. Now, being connected to this program for now over a decade, I've been very proud to see the advancements that have been made. In the past number of years, many Canadian donors are starting to use direct investing platforms more. And so using direct investing platforms means that it's an online system they're using to initiate trades as well. The CanadaHelps team is excited to share with you that this method is now fully integrated in the CanadaHelps Giving platform, and that they can get the numbers they need to initiate the trades in these online platforms without a broker. So all of these platforms are covered if your donor asks you. Now again, it's important to know, because this is what we do at CAGP. We teach charities, advisors, and donors about giving assets. And you need to know how the receipt is generated, because donors will ask. Following Canada Revenue Agency best practices, the CanadaHelps receipt is calculated on the close price of the securities the day they hit the CanadaHelps account. Now this is important to know because one of the challenges of stocks and securities is it's received by CanadaHelps, then cashed, and the cash is put in your account. Well, that cash will never be exactly equal to the receipted value. So if a donor is saying to you they want to pledge $1,000 for a campaign donation, and if it comes in at $989 or it comes in at $1,120, there will be a difference from their receipt, and you need to be comfortable explaining this. Again, every charity in Canada who accepts securities, either through CanadaHelps or not, has the same challenge. It is important to be comfortable talking to your donors about it. Again, we've got a Q&A portion at the end of this discussion today. Please ask to explain this again if it's fuzzy for you at all, because you want to be comfortable talking to donors about this. If there's anything, the increase in securities donations, and make no mistake, there's been a major increase in donations through the CanadaHelps platform to Canada's charities, and really proud to say smaller charities are benefiting the most, because more donors are waking up to the ability to give you not just annual funds, but make payments to annual campaigns, to capital campaigns, to be making major donations. You know, before the fall of humanity and this pandemic, I was at a conference in Saskatoon and had a small charity board member accost me at this conference and say, you know, we had our first donor make a donation through the securities platform, and then they made another gift not even weeks later because they felt so strongly about how easy it was, and in talking to their advisor, frankly, how much tax they were saving. They realized they were saving more, and they felt they could afford to give more. This was a small charity in rural Saskatchewan. This is going to be a powerful gift in the future of fundraising. So now for yourself and prospective donors, again, who are we talking about? Really, it's anybody who can afford to give you a donation above $500. And again, it's important to know that's the minimum of the platform. Many brokers have a minimum of 10,000 plus. And again, CanadaHelps is all about accessibility. All you need to know in marketing is letting donors know you do that. So September, October, November, you want to get into newsletters, everything, even social media. If you are making a gift to us, please know you can use Securities to do it. Here's the link. We're going to talk about that strategy of what is in that link. But you just got to let donors know you do that. Again, CanadaHelps has that downloadable guide, and you can show them the calculations. But in 2020, after more than 13 years of having this benefit, many Canadians know they can do this. They just need to know they can do it with you. And so you need to make sure you're talking directly to donors. You know, the most easy way to do this is to make sure that on your direct mail, buck slips going out, email marketing going out, that you have a checkbox that says, I would like to make this donation using publicly listed securities. Or even better, in email marketing and other places, a direct link to click to your securities page. Make sure your team, your fundraisers, your director, your board members know that this is a way to give. And again, remember, it's not about asking people for more money. It's simply saying, if you want to give, here is the most tax-smart way to do it in Canada and to us. Now, our colleague Lucas is going to share some of the frequently asked questions as we finish up today's webinar, but really want to stress that in the past year or so, this new embedded form, just like your embedded CanadaHelps donation forms, is really important in how you talk to donors. As always, in the past decade, CanadaHelps has had the methodology to keep donors on your website. Now you have the ability to embed the securities form on your website. You're not going to CanadaHelps. You're not splitting that dollar with any other charity. You've got the ability to have it in your site. Again, this is our colleague from Habitat for Humanity, one of our BC colleagues, and Big Brothers Big Sisters of Victoria. It's really easy to put it on the page. Just this morning, I was with the United Way in rural Ontario and 15, 20 other charities. And after talking about it, we had one of our colleagues, small charity, who knows how to use CanadaHelps embedded donation forms, set up her securities form on the break. Got it embedded in their very basic website. So again, this is supposed to be easy to use. It's one of the only securities processes in the whole country that is mobile friendly. Most important, if you do one thing after this before December 31st, it's making sure you got your form set up on your website. Because as we're doing, and we actually have a securities broker doing a free webinar for us at CAGP in the next couple of weeks to share that these stock markets, although there are many winners and losers, there are enough winners that we are seeing securities donations in this year before the end of the year. But remember that you can't use the old CanadaHelps form, as we've partially changed providers to keep costs low for you charities. You have to remember to remind the donor to not sell the stock before they transfer it, because then that will trigger the capital gains taxes. CanadaHelps really discourages using physical certificates, and there is a minimum for that, frankly, because it is a very onerous process. There are virtually no more transfers like this. Almost everything now is in-kind, digital, because of the growth in the online processors. I mentioned at the top end of this webinar that it's a little different between securities and mutual funds. Typically, if the donor's broker is responsive when the transaction is started, publicly listed stocks will take a few days. Mutual funds, because they're a slightly different asset, can take sometimes upwards of a week or more. So you want to let your donors know, unlike cash, this is not an instant process. So make sure you're talking to donors. Make sure they understand the process. And as always, if you can, encourage them to consult their own financial advisor. We are not tax professionals. We don't want to be seen as giving advice. And their advisor, frankly, will often encourage them to say, you can afford to give more, because they will explain the taxes to them. That's not your job as a charity, and they're not looking to you for it. What they want to know, what you need to focus on, is what they're giving to. Why are they giving to you? If it's a campaign, why are they making that pledge payment? It's an important discussion point in the space. Now, as we come towards the end of the year, it's important to note for our charities that there are processing points and a very important date after which the transactions can't be guaranteed. I'll ask my colleague Lucas to step in and share this with us today.
Thanks, Paul. Always appreciate your expertise in having you on here with CanadaHelps and this webinar. So thank you so much. Every time I hear you speak, I'm always learning a few new things. So thanks, Paul. And after we'll have some questions. If you haven't been typing them in the question box, they're there to ask more questions to Paul Nazareth. But yeah, so I'm Lucas from CanadaHelps, as Jen introduced me at the start. So yeah, as Paul had kind of alluded to here in terms of timing with gifts of stocks and mutual funds with CanadaHelps. So as a lot of you already know, using CanadaHelps, using donation forms, when people make those donations, they get that tax receipt back instantly. Obviously, with stocks and mutual funds, a little more of a lengthier process. So especially now, as we get towards the end of the year, the timing becomes much more important. So for this year, make sure, I know now we're kind of wrapping up to that holiday fundraising, getting that marketing emails and communications to your donor base. But you want to make sure that when we're talking about gifts of stocks and mutual funds, that we're trying to get those in before December 17th. So we can guarantee that we can process and issue that tax receipt to the donor before December 17th. We can guarantee that. If not, CanadaHelps, we're always processing donations right until the bell drops on New Year's Eve there, so not a problem, but just in terms of that timing piece, December 17th is important for you to know, okay? So as Paul had mentioned earlier too, this simply let that know to your donors in any kind of communication that you're talking to them, and then as well that mutual funds do take a bit longer as well. Okay, and again, on your end, I know we've had some questions kind of come in. All you need to do is set up that custom branded donation form directly onto your website. So there's no work required by you except getting that donation form onto your website. Okay, and again, we can't direct the timing of trades, but we will sell them right away. So when CanadaHelps receives those stocks and mutual funds, we do sell them on the day that we receive them, issue a tax receipt to the donor, and then we will disperse the cash donations into your account. The disbursement will happen exactly the way other donations come through CanadaHelps, so every Thursday for donations made the week prior between Sunday and Saturday. Right? Awesome. As well, so we have some, some frequently asked questions or things that donors might have questions about. So in terms of sizing of donations, if you have questions like that, you can always direct them to CanadaHelps. We work with that. Donors themselves have the ability on CanadaHelps to make gifts up to multiple organizations at the same time. But for your purposes, again, it's all about embedding that securities donation form, having that on your website, right? Now, when you're sending that kind of communication, you're talking about year-end fundraising, maybe you've got that campaign that you're launching, they can go right to your website and begin that securities donation process right from there, okay? So designations, so what about campaigns and programs? Again, when you're running those campaigns, as I'm sure you are, what donors now can make that kind of gift, generally those larger gifts of stocks and mutual funds, they get that tax benefit and they can support your campaign, right? So a big thing that I found, and I'm sure Paul does, as he mentioned his story before about rural Saskatchewan, the charity there, a lot of organizations that I talk to and we interact with CanadaHelps, they think that because they're not a large organization that they can't accept these kind of gifts. But now, just by being a registered Canadian charity with Canada Helps, you are able to accept gifts of stocks and mutual funds just by having this embedded donation form. So on your end, all it is communicating to your donors, communicating to stakeholders that you are able to receive this kind of gifts. Often as a small charity, your donor base doesn't know. So they'll say, you know, Lucas, I've never received that kind of gift before. We're small. You'd be surprised, just educating donors, letting them know that you were able to accept these gifts. And when you're running those kind of campaigns, you're able to accept those kind of gifts for that. Okay, awesome. So how quickly do you get the funds? So when Canada Helps receives those shares, we sell them on the same day that we receive them, right? Disperse the cash into your account and issue a tax receipt to the donor. So whenever that happens, whenever the shares, when it settles, we will deposit it into your account the following Thursday. So the period is Sunday to Saturday. Whenever it falls in there, you will just receive them the following Thursday. Okay? Should donors notify you? Absolutely. We definitely encourage them to do so. Again, the beauty with using Canada Helps in that embedded donation form, the donor can go right onto that form, start that process. You don't have to worry about anything but putting that donation form up. But yes, we definitely encourage donors to notify you, and most importantly on your end, to thank them and to let that donor know how important that gift is and what that means to your donors and to your organization. Okay. Now, also a very important question that I'm sure a lot of you are wondering about, the fees. Okay, so again, you can go on your account, create a custom donation form, embed that on your website, just like everything else with Canada Helps. So there's no contract, no monthly fees. It's all based on that transaction fee. Okay, and with those transaction fees, everything is included within that fee. So the broker fees, all of that, the processing, the issuing of the tax receipt, all of that is handled within that fee. Okay, compared to our other tools with Canada Helps, this stocks and mutual funds kind of work on a bit of a sliding scale. So as you can see, a donation that's less than $10,000, there's a 3% transaction fee. If it goes from $10,000, between $10,000 and $49,999, 2.5%, between $50,000 and $99,000, 2.5%, and anything larger than 100% is the 2% transaction fee. Okay, so everything is included that with, you know, issuing that tax receipt, and those broker fees are in that as well. Okay, awesome. And now, yeah, I'll hand it over to Jen, and we have a lot of time for some Q&A and questions that can come through.
Thank you so much, Lucas. All right. Just going to switch it over to my screen here, and we have lots of questions coming in. But to kick things off, there are just a few questions from people who've registered that I think would be good to cover. So either Paul or Lucas, feel free to jump in. This first question is from an arts organization, from Chris, and they're asking, how do we be sensitive to donors around giving and walking the line between our need and our optimism?
Paul here. So, you know, we're so grateful that we've got colleagues in the charitable space that are starting to do studies, are starting to do work with Ipsos Reid and Veronix to get a bellwether of where the Canadian public and our donors are at in the pandemic. And we've got some new data from colleagues at GoodWorks, from different peers, on what giving levels have been at and how donors are feeling. And I want to share with you, partly it's one of the reasons why before Canada Helps, I worked for a financial and a wealth management firm, because I wanted to understand that world. And still having connections into advisors and listening to the market and donors, I can tell you this. As much as many of us in the charitable sector are connected to social justice peers and the problem solving of equity, we often will feel very tight. And our networks are also the ones that have been the hardest hit. But in the high net worth community, again, this is Globe and Mail just last week, Canadians earning above $100,000 have been the least amount to lose their jobs. They're the ones who are giving the most in the pandemic. Given has risen around 7.5% in the pandemic. This is a wonderful report from GoodWorks, not even a week old. And we do know that donors are feeling that need to give. Heck, if you look at the financial papers, you'll see things like there is a wood shortage in different parts of this country because so many Canadians are renovating. Between you and me, there's a Botox shortage because so many people are renovating their face. The fact is that the money is there. The stock market has enough winners, in particular in technology. We're hearing from the brokers that donors are responding and they're seeing the gifts transact. So when it comes to need, be open about it. They know the need is there. I was just this morning training with one of the largest arts festivals in Canada. And it's front page news in their part of the country that the institution is hurting. And we've got to understand, and your donors and the community understands, that especially as an arts organization, you are in fact very connected to the local economy. And the fact that your health is tied to the health of the community and people want to give. My only advice to you in not feeling, frankly, weird about it is remembering that you're simply giving people the option to give. If you want to be there with us and you're not really being aggressive about it, if you're making sure you're being proactive to connect with your donors and the community, they will respond as they want to respond. But I'll tell you, I've gotten emails from financial advisors who have their clients saying, where have the charities gone? All we're hearing about is food banks and that Maslow's hierarchy of needs charity. So, people want to connect. I have to stress, as an arts organization, and I'm a member of my local arts community as well, that arts are the soul of the country. Yes, we have to protect the vulnerable, and there's so many needs, but many of the donors who understand the arts understand too that this is how we connect. This is who we are as a country. So whatever cause you represent, please don't step backwards. Remember, your donors and Canadians need you to simply step to the line and say, we matter. And they want to give.
Awesome, Paul. Thank you so much. Perfect answer, especially during this time. Got another question here. This one's from Alex. They ask, how can we encourage donors to make a gift of securities through CanadaHelps if they're older and prefer to do things offline?
So happy to jump in with this one again because it's a bit of a Canadian stats and data point. And again, when I worked in Charities, I worked for the university, a large group of churches, we didn't always have a connection to understanding the economy and the transactions. So for many years, many of our donors, especially older ones, have given primarily by checks. But you need to know that even through CanadaHelps, the donor who gives the largest gifts are older donors. Remember, it is the baby boomers who created the internet. It is this generation of donors who are connecting with family. And we see again, just yesterday, front page, Globe and Mail business section, seniors are embracing online transactions. So don't assume for your donors. Again, this is about responsibly meeting your donors where they are. If they prefer checks, make sure it's easy to mail into you and you're doing direct mail. Make sure that you've got your donate button on your homepage and you're doing embedded and customized links as part of campaigns for credit card donations. But Canadians who hold the most amount of securities and the most amount of securities with high taxable gains are seniors. And the largest donors, and frankly the ones who are in the most need. Again, this is about respecting and dignity. Which are the donors who have the most need to alleviate capital gains taxes? Seniors. Their tax advisors are yelling at them, please don't donate cash. Please don't write that check. Please give stocks and securities. So again, if you just let your donors know, we do that. If it's best for you, we do that. And today, many advisors are helping their clients give in this way. So it's not just the seniors. Many advisors are helping facilitate for them because they're saying, and this is what we're doing out there, we're training stockbrokers, insurance professionals, bankers, to say, my gosh, you're giving 4 or 5 figures a year. We have to help you to do this. And they don't have these programs. They go to CanadaHelps. And one of the reasons why is indeed because they can do multiple transactions at one time. But for your donors on your site, you need a ways to give, checks, online, monthly giving, securities. They'll be able to process it. But please have comfort in knowing that you are well serving your older donors because they have a tax need.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Paul. Either for you or for Lucas. I think this is more so for Lucas. Question from Susan. Interested to know how to issue tax receipts for this type of donation.
Hi, Susan. Thank you for the question. So in terms of issuing tax receipts for this kind of donation, the best part is you don't have to. So as we kind of mentioned before, and as Paul has been talking about throughout the webinar, in your CanadaHelps account, you are able to create a donation form of stocks and mutual funds. When you've embedded that on your website, the donor, all they have to do is fill out that form and they can get that process started. That gift comes to CanadaHelps. We sell them on the same day that we receive them, issue a tax receipt to the donor, and disperse that donation directly into your account. So you don't need to issue any tax receipts on your end. All you need is a customizable donation form under that Ways to Give option on your website, and you just got to let your donors know that you are able to accept these kind of gifts as an organization. Thanks. Great question.
Cool. Thank you, Lucas. And while I've got you, I think you kind of answered this, but maybe you could walk through a little more. Question from Isabel. Is there a way to have a link personalized to your charity? We have been using the link on the security section of CanadaHelps website, but the donor still has to select the nonprofit. So if our donors use the link on our website, can we have our charity information pre-selected? So how do you link to securities?
That's awesome. So thanks. That's an excellent question. So when you're linking your charity profile page to your website, that's kind of actually the old sort of method and way of using CanadaHelps. So a donor can go to CanadaHelps.org and they can make a gift of stocks or mutual funds right there. For them, the donor can go fill out the form and they can actually make a gift to multiple charities at the same time. So if they're making a large gift of stocks, they can choose 5 or 6 different organizations, and within one transaction, have issue that we'll sell those shares. Those donations will be split between all the charities that the donor chosen, and they'll get one tax receipt. So as a donor, that's a benefit. But for you, as a charity, you don't want to be linking your CanadaHelps page to your website. Why? Because a donor, like you said, it's a longer process for them to complete that donation, and the donor now has the ability to choose multiple organizations, and they have to search for your organization first. So to kind of avoid all that and make it easier, what we've done with CanadaHelps now is have the ability for you to create an embeddable securities donation form. So I think my email will be provided after. I'd love to chat after, but simply you can now create your own donation form, embed that on your website. So now when the donor wants to make that gift to you, they can do it from your website, and then they don't have to choose your organization and search for it. Just by filling out that form that you've created and that you've customized with your own custom thank you message, with your own fund selection, they can simply start that process, and that donation will go directly to you. And again, it's much easier for them to do that. They just go right to your website, and it's mobile optimized and a much better giving experience. And all you have to do is thank them after that donation. So great question. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucas. Perfect. And that being said, Z here has asked, what is the reporting or reconciliation process for donations? So basically looking at donations reports and finding out that they got a securities donation.
As Lucas mentioned, the standard way to put the money in your account comes along with all other methods of collection through CanadaHelps, your donation forms, events, or peer-to-peer, and it's donated the subsequent Thursday. Actually, I was just doing a course yesterday with CPA Canada for chief financial officers on reconciling all sorts of donations on their T3010s. So when funds come from CanadaHelps, it is a charity-to-charity transfer on your T3010. It is not under donations. CanadaHelps is, of course, a public foundation, a fellow charity, and it's like the money is being granted to you. So the reconciliation is under a charity-to-charity transfers. And, of course, as our previous colleague asked, it's important to remember you are never issuing tax receipts because CanadaHelps is issuing the tax receipts for any donations that are coming to you through the platform.
Great. Thank you for jumping in there, Paul. And while I've got you, Verna here has asked, at the beginning, Paul stated, why Give Securities? Could you state again in an example what the main difference is if receiving a $1,000 cash gift from a donor as opposed to a donor giving security of $1,000? What is the advantage to the donor to the charity, or is there one instead of cash?
Absolutely. There is a major advantage, and financial advisors are out there today telling their clients, please do not give cash, because with securities, you get the benefit of the standard donation receipt. And in Canada, when you give above $200, you're getting back about half. But the over and above benefit is that you are eliminating the capital gains. So here are kind of the words when you're talking to donors to use. When you donate securities in kind, you're eliminating the capital gains, and you're getting an added benefit over and above the charitable tax credit. And as I mentioned, what's the benefits? Any donor who is cashing out stocks is paying the tax and then giving you less money. If they give you the stocks in kind, in digital form, they're not paying that tax, and you are therefore getting more dollars. It's a benefit to the donor because it's costing them less to give more. And it's a benefit to you because you're getting more.
Great. Thank you, Paul. Just going through lots of questions over here. What is the lowest amount that could be donated this way from Carol?
Lucas, you would have the updated amount on the minimum today. It was $500 previously. I think it still is.
Yeah, you're right, Paul.
Yeah, wonderful. And again, this is really about accessibility. Many brokers out there, when I worked with a small charity, it was a challenge for us because our broker said, I don't have time for donations under $10,000. But we were a small charity. We weren't getting securities donations of $10,000 plus. So now this gives your donor the ability to give their annual donation, giving stocks. And as that small charity ED shared with me in Saskatoon, once they start giving stocks, you will see their donation amounts going up because they are feeling less pressure about it. Again, Canada is already a country that is older than it is younger, and more Canadians hold their personal wealth in assets, not cash. You know this, registered funds or property or portfolios. Older Canadians who are living on fixed incomes and the income from their investments have less cash. So you are also being kinder, frankly, to your donors and helping them to give from the assets they have more of. If you don't want to be putting seniors at risk, you want to make sure that they have the option to give in the way that is best for them. Securities in Canada is the most tax advantageous way to give.
Great. Perfect. Thank you, Paul. I think we have time for two more. There's a question here from Alan. I'm not sure if you covered this yet. What does our charity need to know if we choose to receive and keep and not sell a dividend or income-producing stock or mutual fund?
So, this is a little bit outside of the CanadaHelps platform, but important to know as well. And that's what we do as the Canadian Association of Gift Planners. Happy to follow up with you offline, but we have a textbook on this that follows the Canada Revenue Agency best practice. And truly, the best practice is not to keep securities. Again, your donor is giving this to you to do something, to do your good work. So, many charities have an investment policy statement, and the best practice in Canada, from large charities to small, is to not keep these funds, to immediately liquidate them and put that money to good use. Otherwise, there is great risk because, as we know too, stock markets are volatile. So happy to follow up offline about this. This is what we do as CAGP, but that's why CanadaHelps follows that best practice to liquidate as soon as possible and get that cash in your hands to do your good work.
Thank you, Paul. Just going to start go through for our last question here. Let's see. Securities, are securities traded at market open on the date following donation?
So, and I happen to know because I was part of the team that set up the program and now manages transactions. Again, as Lucas mentioned, the best practice is to sell as soon as possible. So you bet if something comes in, after close on a Friday, then when the markets open on the Monday is when it'll be sold. That's why, again, often the numbers never really match up. So best practice, receipt is generated, the close price, the day it hits the account of CanadaHelps, and then CanadaHelps' broker sells it as soon as possible, liquidates it, and puts the cash in your account the following Thursday with the rest of all CanadaHelps donations. Again, following best Canadian practice and Canada Revenue Agency guidelines.
Great. Thank you so much, Paul. We're just going to leave it there. If anyone has any questions, you'll be getting a copy of these slides with Paul's contact information as well as Lucas's if you want to find out more about the CAGP or the CanadaHelps side of things. I want to say thank you, Paul, for lending your expertise today and for giving your knowledge, educating our charities today about donations of securities. We're really excited to have you here and to have you championing donations of securities, especially for small charities at this time. And to everyone, I just want to thank you for all your great questions. Lucas for facilitating questions, those FAQs about the CanadaHelp side of things. And to stay updated on more about CanadaHelp's fundraising products, tips, and free webinars like this one, be sure to follow us on Twitter at CharityLiveCA, our CanadaHelps for Charities Facebook page, company page on LinkedIn, and just look out for any of the next webinar invites if you're signed up to receive our charity newsletter emails. As always, thank you for joining us, and we hope to see you at the next webinar. So stay safe and take care. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.